Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow, and this is becoming an ongoing problem. It seems that the firing of Jessica Price and Peter Fries for their moral low ground at ArenaNet, attacking content creator Deroir for responding to Jessica Price's long tweet rant about MMO branching storylines, is getting attention from some choice people in the gaming media landscape. And if you saw Jessica Price's response to Deroir and to other people within the Guild Wars 2 community, you might be seeing just who exactly responded. It was the same people who are against transparency within the gaming media landscape. But I have my own opinions about why this is going on, stuff that I would assume that other people like the Quartering and I Am Mills Chong, who covered this thing as well, might be inclined to believe as well. But I'm going to show you a lot of these things that have been going on, and you're going to see a common theme come around with all of these particular articles and tweets. And I will again give my own responses to those things, and it's something that I would hope that some other people will pick up on as well, and my own opinions about them and what I really think is going on. Something that I do believe that if someone will watch a small-time YouTuber like I am, will pick up on as well. Also, keep in mind, these are responses to the tweets that were posted on Independence Day. Keep that in mind. In the US, it is a federal holiday, so yeah, if you are somebody who was out and about watching fireworks, you might have missed that this was all going on in the first place. Although this is not the first time that Jessica Price decided that she was going to interject the gender card into her daily life. Maybe she thought she could get away with it on Independence Day instead of on a normal business day. But let's get to the first person who obviously responded, which is Kathleen Cross, or Quinae Moon, on Twitter. Now, she's someone else who has me blocked on Twitter. Apparently, she didn't like that I called her out once before. Yes, I have. And that is a common theme with some of these people as well. They just don't like taking criticism from people. They would rather block you instead of answering any criticism that they would have, which would be something that a lot of people should be able to do if you're going to get into a field that deals with engaging with said public. Saying, quote, "It's a worthwhile point. Gaming culture as a whole, especially among the elitist sorts, have prided itself on its rhetorical nastiness. Trash talk is a way of life. How many people have been told to submit to abuse or leave gaming if you can't take the heat, etc. Gaming YouTube, even the decent folks among them, has a house style of shouty dudes being vitriol and violent sexual imagery as a matter of course. Hell, one of my favorite gaming streamers is of that style. It's endemic to this world. And now, suddenly, the self-appointed gatekeepers of who get to be the real gamer are having heart palpitations over rando asshat? Give me a break, honestly. That's all this is about. Hypocrisy. The wind was blowing in the right direction for an off-color tweet from Jessica Price to ignite a forest fire. In a community that prides itself on a F your feelings mentality, they've magically rediscovered their capacity for offense. In reality, a vocal and hyperactive minority were looking for a reason to take her down from day one because outspoken women who don't coddle them do indeed scare them. All their internet tough guy posturing masks that deep-seated terror. And that's the thing. Men who are rude and opinionated are venerated, even celebrated for their take-no-shit attitude. Women who do so are pillared. We're expected to be nice, palatable, endlessly available helpmates. Surrogate mothers, would-be girlfriends. There's a broader dimension to this beyond sexism, of course. While this sect will attack anyone, regardless of gender, who doesn't toe their line. They dox and swap male devs who they blame for adverse changes to their beloved games. But the bar women have to clear in order to inspire the same outrage is always lower, and the punishment must be commensurately greater. The number of people braying for blood for the ruination of Price's life beyond her firing is horrifying. Even the one agrees that her tweet to the streamer was a misfire in poor taste. There's no justifying what happened after, and it's merely a reminder that women aren't allowed to make mistakes. One slip up, one perceived to slip up, and it's to the stocks with us. And it just keeps going on and on and on. I'm not going to go into too many details about that, but there is a few things that she leaves out in that whole discussion, and we'll get to those in just a moment. But she isn't the only one who has spoken up in the fallout of this whole thing happening. Kotaku and yeah, we're gonna go to Nathan Grayson's little thing again. Why is he always the one that talks about these things as if he knows exactly what he's talking about, or he has any right to speak on these things? Has said that the people who are going after Jessica Price in the aftermath of the whole thing were raining down insults on her and all sorts of nastiness, which, yeah, you could safely assume if you watch my videos, it was very much a different story. Rami Ismail, who is well known among the crowd of these types of people, has been saying here, I thought being indie meant I was on the clock 24/7, or apparently AAA means just that, but also being forced to take whatever shit people fling at you because standards for communicating with our community and we make the game for you, so feel free to give our devs shit. And Chris Hannell, who is a designer at Support Class and the Games Done Quick Marathon, had posted a out of context block of text, which I'm not sure where he even got it, saying, quote, well done, ANET, you successfully embroidered some monsters. And though that's kind of deplorable, the quote that he had essentially quoted, there's no telling where he got that from, so we don't know if it was just something he made up or something that he elemented or something else altogether. We don't know where it came from or if there was any sort of reprimand to the person who made that quote. Remember, that was just one person, and yeah, the internet houses a whole bunch of different kinds of people. Let's just put it that way. Pace.com and Garrett Martin had said in a headline to that site, quote, ArenaNet fires 2 Guild Wars 2 writers over tweets sending a bad message to designers and consumers. And I'm not going to go into text of most of these. You can no doubt see them for yourself in the description below this video, but by now you can probably see a common theme that is starting to happen here. Graham Smith of Rock Paper Shotgun saying that ArenaNet throw 2 Guild Wars 2 writers to the wolves. But one of the worst seems to be Chris Clune, or Chris Warcraft, who took it upon himself to not only slime ArenaNet, but to once more show that he is a completely disgusting excuse for a human being, and to say the words F total biscuit. Cancer isn't a get out of jail free card for using your living days to harass others. Good riddance. Remember, this is the same person who was talking about on Twitter about the time that 2 very well-known Viking players were caught in a compromising situation with an underage girl. And yeah, that goes on, and it's as bad as it sounds. Yeah, not the person that I want to talk about anything, much less this situation, and not much less to say that about one of the most revered gaming critics of all time. You are a nobody, Chris Clune. Please go the hell away. One of the things that is, first of all, in common with all of these articles and those from onewaypoint.com, although for some reason I cannot find the actual links to those stories, is one that it is confirming that it was Peter Freeze that was the second person to be let go. Before, we did not have complete confirmation that it was Peter Freeze, but upon inspection of all these articles, it is now confirmed that it was indeed him that was let go as well. The one that was chiming in and being the hypocrite to saying that she didn't ask for your opinion. These were private Twitter accounts, although he decided, hey, I'm going to not be self-aware of what I'm doing. However, there is one other particular aspect to all of these articles and those other people who are also chiming in, like Brianna Wu, who is someone running for Congress and who is a game designer, albeit not a very good one herself. It is the notion that none of them are actually highlighting what those tweets initially were, what the Deroir tweets were that seemingly provoked Jessica Price to begin with. Because, let me be quite honest, I never saw, not even once, anything that even implied a sexist remark from him. He politely issued a counterpoint to what she was saying initially about MMORPG branching paths. Which, again, the whole discussion about that got completely completely lost in this whole debate about whether or not he said anything even remotely misogynistic. Keep in mind of what that whole thing initially was all about. So, quite frankly, I have a feeling that that was to dodge that whole question and dodge that whole debate. The saying, hey, I'm right, you're wrong, and if you try to say that I am wrong in any sort of way, you are indeed misogynistic, and I'm going to throw that label at you and those ad hominem attacks. But I need to ask, where in any of that he even said had even remotely misogynistic tones to them? This is a dangerous situation that we're seeing us become a part of. This is something that I think we need to discuss on a more grander scale that goes beyond Jessica Price and what is going on here at ArenaNet. There is a lot of problems here. Keep in mind that this was not the first time that Jessica Price found herself in this kind of situation. I showed you what MMO Inks had gotten himself into because of his kindness to Jessica Price, and she flipped out on him. And then of course Jabro Unity had also said something to her about his disagreements about her thoughts about Avengers Infinity War. And guess what? She told him, get the F out of my feed. This is not the type of person that should be running any part of any company. Now, before you feel too bad about her, she did get hired from another company, so they'll have to be the ones to deal with her toxicity. And toxicity it is. Remember, this is not a one-off thing as many people are trying to claim it to be, as her defenders are trying to make it out to be. This is a string of repeated issues that she has had. She had claimed in one of the articles that this was a one and done deal, that she didn't get any prior warnings. Seeing as how she continued to attack not just fans of the game, but people who are creating YouTube videos, who are streaming the game that she is working on, who have worked on the game, who have played the game longer than she's been around the company, I have a feeling that that is not entirely the correct case. That Michael Pryor probably said something to her in the past saying you need to calm down. You need to stop overreacting to everything that you have around you. It is not necessary to engage in that way. We are not going to treat our fans, our paying customers, like garbage like you want to treat them like. And she does not get it. She does not care to get it. She thinks what she is doing is the moral thing to do. And so are these people who are defending her. And they should be ashamed of defending her. And they should look themselves in the mirror as well as she should. This is not a heroic thing to do. Why are these people continuing to think that this is the right thing? This has nothing to do about her gender. This has nothing to do about sexism. This has nothing to do about any of that. She's the only one who interjected that into the discussion. She tried to conflate two completely different things. This has something to do about MMO branching paths in a story. Had nothing to do about what her gender was. She is the one who brought up the topic. People will be responding to her because she's the one who brought the damn topic up. Period. End the story. There is no getting around that. You cannot equate one to the other. It's a false equivalency. Period. 110%. There is nothing there. There is no there. But again, because this goes into a sensitive topic and she brought it up herself to blame someone else for bringing it up because she's a woman, so therefore she gets special treatment or she gets special protection for some weird reason, all of a sudden she gets her best friends to come to her defense. And it's the usual suspects in this whole crime. She attacked everybody. How is that excusable? Why would you excuse that? And why would you make it worse? Why would you throw salt onto these wounds? Get a grip. There is nothing there that even hints at sexism. Please point me to the exact quote that he said that had any sort of sexism within it. If you want to say, oh, well, he targeted a female. Well, the female was the one who brought the freaking topic up. What do you expect him to do? He thought that he was talking to someone who's going to respond by actually having a civil conversation and exercise civil discourse. Instead, he got shot down and then man was accused of mansplaining when it had nothing to do about freaking gender. Please point me to the point where he is even bringing up her gender or even being misogynistic, because I don't see it. It is just her trying to avoid any form of criticism and using her gender as a shield to deflect criticism. And the way that Peter Freeze went to her defense and the way that he added onto that pile, you have to think that perhaps he was the one that suggested that she was hired to begin with. It was probably his idea. Keep in mind that, as I said, Peter Freeze is not one to shy away about transparency in gaming media. Apparently, he is not a big fan of that. So keep that in mind, because I do believe that he might have had something to do with her being hired at ArenaNet to begin with, if he was that quick to come to her defense and saying the things that he said in response to the people who were, by the way, quite kindly saying that it had nothing to do with sexism. She was not being attacked. She was not being attacked. She was being called out. There's a difference. There is a difference between being called out and being attacked and ridiculed. You are not above criticism, period, in this industry. I am not above criticism. Have you seen some of the comments I get on some of my content? But you know what? I don't respond in a way that makes people believe that I am being attacked for the sound of my voice or my weight or the way I look or anything like that. I just delete them. If I have trolly comments like the ones I got on my Reckless Ladybug reaction the other day, I just delete them. I try to be snarky, and then when I see that the trolls are out in full force and they're just continuing to stroke the fires, I just, yeah, you know what? Delete them, report them, and ban them. That's it. They haven't been back since. And you know what? I'm more than happy to let criticisms go, as long as they're civil and they help me become a better content creator. But I'm not going to do what Jessica Price has done. And to her credit, the only thing that Jessica Price has done right is made me think about some other things that perhaps I've done that might have been a little too overbearing, and maybe I should be talking about those in a separate video. However, there is one other thing I want to bring up, and this is what I don't think a lot of the people like Ian Mills Chong or Quartering are bringing up, and it is not their fault that they're not bringing it up, because they're more focused on the whole aspect of the social justice part of this whole topic. But I want to bring up the ethic part of this. I want to bring up the notion of why this was a problem outside of the notion that she's attacking fan base, and of course there are potential customers in there. And that is, she was also attacking Guild Wars 2 content creators, streamers, and video makers. Remember, she was also attacking Jebbo. Remember, she was also attacking MMO Inks. She might have attacked other ones as well. When you start attacking those people who can also criticize your product, you set a dangerous precedent. Because now you can essentially say that she might not only become block happy as she seems to be, but keep in mind that she might have also gone to some ArenaNet developers trying to get those people blacklisted from covering their games because they were criticizing her content or what she was making. That is the big problem there. That is probably also why you see all of these journalists starting to come to her defense, because this has something to do with transparency as well. All of those people who came to her defense were also those that were criticized after 2013 and 2014 for engaging in nepotism and engaging in that kind of mentality and behavior. They did not like that. They became ultra defensive. Instead of owning up to their mistakes, they suddenly believed that it was okay for their readers to not know when somebody had a personal relationship with somebody who would affect how they would cover a game professionally. There is a firm problem that still exists there, and they believe that they have every right to do that. And that has nothing to do with being progressive at all. It has everything to do with having every single game have a fair shake, a fair amount of praise, a fair amount of criticism when it is deserving of it. And for some developer in a company, regardless of what company it is, to threaten people, to threaten content creators in such a way that you are scared to criticize a game for fear that you are going to get lambasted the way that Jessica Price did to Deroir, what is going to stop ArenaNet if that continues to blacklist somebody because they criticized the Next Living World episode, or they criticized the writing on that? Keep in mind what Deroir actually said. The original tweet, he was actually criticizing the quote-unquote constraints of the Living Stories narrative design. He was essentially criticizing how the Living Story episodes were coming out and how they seemed to be restrictive on the account of the writing that she was presenting. This was a criticism about her writing. This was a criticism in a way about what she was doing to the Living Story episodes, which have been criticized before. These current Living Story episodes have been received with mixed reactions. So it is not like this is a unheard of criticism about the current Living Story episodes. So keep in mind that these are criticisms that she has probably heard of before about her writing, and she had gotten ultra defensive. I do believe that this is her way to deflect criticism and to try to ruin somebody because they criticize her work in the way that she knew a lot of people were going to pick her side over his, because especially in this day of age, it is a thing to never investigate whether or not a claim of misogyny or a claim of mansplaining actually exists. It is the listen and believe mentality. And I say that as a progressive. I say that as somebody who subscribes to David Pakman, who subscribes to the Young Turks, although I do criticize them as well at some points when I do believe it's well deserved. This is coming from somebody who will gladly play a game with a female protagonist, who have called for female protagonists in some games, including Grand Theft Auto, who has called for that sort of thing, but where it makes sense and where it would add something to the overall experience of the story and the overall narrative of that particular game. In other words, when it's not used to fill in a check mark. And my reaction videos of Miraculous Ladybug and Sailor Moon and my coverage of the Kim Possible live action movie being announced would have you be proven about that stance that I have. But this is not about that. This had nothing to do with sexism. This had nothing to do with misogyny. This has something to do with somebody criticizing their work. And if you want to be an equal in the industry, that is all well and good. I am all for females being empowered within the gaming industry. But equality also means that you are being criticized as an equal, that you are able to handle criticism about your work. And it's about her work. It had nothing to do with gender, because if Peter Fries said the exact same thing, he would have been told the exact same thing. And when somebody uses that as a defense mechanism, it devalues everybody else's usage of that when it is actually happening. When a act of misogyny is actually happening in the game industry, people will not believe it or will think twice to believe it because Jessica Price has cried wolf so many times. But what if Jessica Price had actually tried to go to Mike O'Brien saying, hey, I want Jebro blacklisted from covering Guild Wars 2, or MMO Inks from covering Guild Wars 2, or Bogarter, or any other Guild Wars 2 content creator. There are so many of them. Or Deroir from covering Guild Wars 2. I want his partnership revoked. What if she tried to do that? What if she attempted to blacklist any other gaming critic from covering her game? What would happen in that sense? Remember, she is a user of a third-party block list. And remember, before anybody says it, I'm not against anybody blocking people manually, but when you use those third-party block lists, you are essentially handing the keys to your car to someone else and hoping that they don't bang it up or wreck it. You don't know the intentions of the person who is making that third-party block list. You don't know their political stances. You don't know why they're putting other people on that. You're just hoping and praying that you don't block somebody who you would rather want to talk to. And I don't think the developer of any game in any company should be actively saying, hey, I'll block you if you say this or that, and then becoming block happy because, hey, you had a different opinion about MMO branching storylines. Think about how silly that sounds. And think about how dangerous that becomes to somebody who wants to critique your game, who wants to critique your writing. If that's your defense mechanism, is to block and then blacklist you from ever covering your game. That is why she got fired. That is why Peter Fries got fired. That is why this all happened. It had nothing to do with her gender, because if it did, then Peter Fries would still have a job right now. Keep in mind, he was fired as well. It is confirmed now that he was fired, because not only is his Twitter profile been changed, but now all of these articles are essentially confirming it for us. We don't have to go into any other digging to see that he was the other one that was canned, and rightfully so. Maybe I can stick for Peter Fries in some respect because he was trying to defend a co-worker, and maybe I would have done the same thing. I don't know. But her firing, I do believe that her firing was essentially overdue after all of the stuff we found out from her. And the narrative that is going on a lot of these sites that also have a lot to answer for during these past 4 or so years, is saying a lot about what this is actually all about, why they are bringing up the sexism card, the gender card, and how a simple criticism about someone's game should tell you all you need to know. This was, in the end of the day, not about her gender, but instead someone criticizing the work of a person who obviously we know now who her friends are. It is the same group of people who exemplify why we should have disclosure laws for all forms of media. These are the type of people who prove to us that we cannot have nice things. And to ArenaNet, stand your damn ground on this. You are in the right. Deroir is in the right. And to Jessica Price, in the words of Adam Sandler, the price is wrong. My name is JD Shadow, and of course, that just happened.